around the world. I'm your host, Xinyu Zhang. I'm pleased to have Mr. Jae Jin. This is soul singer. He just created the first album, Carols, Jae Jin. So could you introduce a little bit this album?
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. So this is my debut album. It's called Kairos. And again, I just started this journey as a professional musician about a year ago. And this album is all my own songwriting, compositions and things. And it's just really very excited about sharing it with the world and sharing my art and craft.
I cannot wait to hear your first song. So here it is.
If I go a million miles away, I'll write a letter each and every day, 'cause I know that nothing, oh nothing could ever change this love I have for you. Oh, make me weep, and you can make me cry. You'll see me coming, and you can walk on by, 'cause I know that nothing, oh nothing could ever change this love I have for you. Oh, you're the apple of my eye. You're like cherry pie, you're like cake and ice cream too. You're like sugar and spice and everything nice. You're the girl of my dream. If you go and you choose to roll, I'll be right here waiting. I say welcome home, 'cause I know that nothing, oh nothing could ever change this love. Darling, you set me, darling, you set me, darling, you set me. Honest you do, honest you do, honest you do. Oh, Cupid, drop back your bow and let your arrow go straight to my lover's heart. For me, for me, for me. Oh, 'cause nothing, no, nothing could ever change this love I have for you.
Okay, welcome back. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. My name is Jae Jin, and I'm an American singer-songwriter, and I guess I'm an artist. You know, I love writing. I'm a songwriter. I love creating music and being able to share. I've had the privilege of sharing my music in many places all over the country, and in 2016 plan to share my music globally as well.
So when did you start playing music?
Yeah, so I guess I've loved music all my life, and I'd say I feel like I've played in the sense of just, you know, dabbling on the keys from a young age. I never really got a chance to take lessons, much like many of my peers, but music has always had an important part in my life. I've always grown up listening to all types of music, and more recently, over the past few years, really just started to get to this place where I realized that this passion was something that many were encouraging me to share with a broader audience, and so kind of went from going from singing in my shower only to being able to go out and share it in the world and share it in venues, whether it was coffee houses or, you know, actual music venues, and it's just been an exciting journey.
What have you had as a job before you take this journey?
Right. Much like many that might be pursuing a career to be able to provide stability and security, I had actually been on the road towards going into medicine and business. So I had attended university at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland, for my undergraduate degree. And afterwards, rather than going straight into med school, I actually decided to work for a bit because I was still, I had an inkling that maybe business would be a great fit for me in terms of some of the things that leadership entailed and management and my interest in that. And so I went into healthcare management for about 4 years. So I worked at the Johns Hopkins Medical Institute and was managing a cardiovascular center there. And during that time, you know, just really cultivating a lot of my skill set, and eventually got to a place where I thought that graduate school would make sense for me. So I was looking into a dual degree program in medicine and business, an MD, MBA program. And instead of going down that route, I realized that you know, I just kind of needed some sense of a change where I had an opportunity to be able to start cultivating my craft and my passion. I had gone into school as a writing major, and so I had this love for music. I had this love for writing, and decided to kind of explore that. And so instead of going to graduate school, I ended up taking a job doing some business development and working in inner city Baltimore City. And during that time, I started to cultivate my craft, and about a year ago, took the leap of faith and just decided, you know what, I got rid of almost all of my possessions and belongings and moved up to New York City, and I've just been grinding, and I've played almost 100 shows in New York City as well as in other cities across the country, and slowly things are happening where I'm getting an opportunity to share, and this debut album is a culmination of sorts for the start of this journey, so I'm really excited.
Well, I mean, you're talking about your passion, but for someone, it's a little bit hard to keep that passion.
Oh, yes.
So what really motivated you to keep this journey?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I think in this day and age, a lot of individuals see music or things like music as just simply hobbies or things that they can't do. And there are individuals that have that passion. I think where it becomes really hard is that you need to really be willing to give it your all. And I think one aspect of my story that's kind of kept me going, because I think every day that I've been in New York City, the grind has been hard. There have been days that I have not eaten. I've been couch surfing. I've been doing a lot of that to really go for what I love. And I think one element of that is my life story. I have actually had an illness twice in my life, and I underwent an experimental chemotherapy at Johns Hopkins Hospital 5 years apart. And as a two-time survivor, I think that element has really kind of given me this perspective that I feel like gives me that clout to be able to have the confidence to just say, you know what, I'm willing to die trying to do something that I love, and I know that sounds cliche, but I think it's something that I really do believe, and I think while it's been very hard, and each day you have to push forward, you realize that the impact is made not so much necessarily on the stage or by sharing a song, but it's really in the people that you get to come across, the stories that you get to hear, the stories that you get to tell, the impact that you make. Individuals are able to reach out to me, send me messages and things and say, hey, this song moved me in this way. And when you hear something like that and you realize that you're creating art and you have that kind of privilege where somebody can be affected in a way that you might not have necessarily planned, that gives you kind of that, it reinvigorates you and gives you that opportunity to continue and push forward.
So do you believe God?
I do. Faith is a very important aspect of my story thus far, and I feel that it is an important part of my moving forward. I feel like my vocation or my calling directly aligns with my creating of my art, the sharing of my story, and I think when it comes to things like suffering, because a lot of people tell me, oh, it's too bad, like I'm so sorry that you went through something like an illness, and I say, I don't think it's something that I see as an unfortunate event. I think it's something that I consider a privilege. I think it's something that there's this quote that suffering doesn't have, it's simply a sad story. It doesn't have any impact unless it draws yourself closer to God and it draws others around you closer to God. And so I think that's one element that I feel ties into my story completely. And I think that that's another thing that gives me this faith, in this journey.
God created a unique journey for you. How do you describe the genre music of your music?
I would say my genre of music, I don't really like to get boxed into one genre, but I think a lot of times I do think a lot of my original music on the live side is more blues, soul, but R&B, but at the end of the day, this album is very much pop soul. You see elements in different songs, everything from Americana to jazz to rock to pop rock to blues. And so, I've listened to so many different types of music that I just, I love it, and I need to just be able to express it through different.
Great. I'm your host, Xinyu Zhang. I'm having soul singer Jae Jin with me on Channel 10. So could you tell us your album, why name Kairos?
Kairos, yeah. So, my album Kairos, it really means the opportune time. It's a Greek word that means the opportune time, and biblically it's God's time. And I think for me, a lot of my life up to this point has been about that. It's been about setting plans and setting goals, and oftentimes they don't necessarily go according to plan. And even certain things that have occurred, whether they're opportunities or misfortunes or things that were great, they had this kind of perfect timing to it that was beyond something that I felt that I had a control over. And so a lot of the themes of the songs on this album all kind of involve this idea of time. And there's this constant juxtaposition of Kairos, which is this opportune time, and then Chronos, which is the time, the hours, minutes, the time that we generally align by. So, I just felt like this was a title that I had wanted to have as my album, as my debut album for quite some time now, and so it was a fairly easy pick.
One Korean girl told me she just loved your website design, also album design. Can you tell us a little bit more? I like the black and white mixed.
Right. Yeah. I think when I was thinking about the design elements of my album, I wanted something that was just very minimalist and simplistic, and I think there are a lot of albums that do a great job of just kind of capturing your attention, and I think the design of it does that. It's black and white and grayscale, but in it, people are kind of like, what is that? You know, besides just simply having a circle, it's like these elements of circles. There's 3 concentric circles that align, and when they align, it's kind of like when the timing aligns. And inside the album itself, on the CD, it actually none of the black lines are aligned, and so it's kind of like that idea that when everything aligns, that's when, you know, the right things are.
So tell us what it would like when you create the album.
Right.
So is the message you keeping sent out to the audience, what it is?
Right. In the creation of the album, you know, I actually took a handful of songs and went out to California. There was a producer out there, his name is Tim, and he is a longtime friend of mine, and also a singer-songwriter and musician. And, you know, he's put out 4 or 5 albums, and I've always respected his work and respected his vision. I knew that going to California, I had this idea of what I wanted the songs to be and how I wanted them to sound. And so simply we came together and were able to join forces and really kind of bring it to the next level. You know, I felt like his creative side was really able to bring things to a whole nother level that I couldn't have even possibly imagined. And so that was a great thing. All the instruments that are on the album are live. They're done by friends of mine, and many of them play for bands, and they play play professionally. And so that was really exciting too, to be able to bring them into the fold. Even in the arrangements, you know, even the strings arrangements that we were able to come up with, everything had this meticulous detail. So it was an exciting process, and to see it from start to finish, it was extremely hard. It was difficult, but it was something that was done independently. You know, I wasn't doing this through a label. I did have a crowdfunding campaign, which is, you know, I was able to have individuals support from my organic following that had slowly been building up over the past year. And so, yeah, you know, I was able to rely a good percentage of the creation of the album. I was able to rely upon the support of individuals that, even though they had no idea what to expect, they decided to support me because of why I was doing it and because of who I was and what story I was trying to tell.
So most of the time you play by yourself, or you have band or with you, or have group with you?
Right. Ideally, you know, there's a whole nother level that you're able to approach with having a full band. You know, I don't have that privilege quite yet, or quite often enough, because, you know, it does require money, and it requires, you know, time and investment of all of that. And for me, a lot of the shows that I played this year have been on my own. You know, I've had maybe even, you know, another instrumentalist, or even somebody on the cajon, which is an acoustic drum. But there have also been a few shows that I've done this year where I just got a full band, was able to hire session musicians that, you know, that were my close friends, and we were able to put on, you know, pretty big arrangements of shows, even having saxophone players, and, you know, it's been amazing. And I think if I eventually get to that point where I can, you know, have my own band to be able to bring to the live element of what I want to say, I think that will be really exciting. It's something that I do look forward to.
I guess all the songs are your favorite songs, but which one really stands out to you?
Stands out. I'd say the song that I'm sure stands out for myself as well as for listeners. There is one song that's very personal, and I went back and forth on whether I was going to include it in this album. And that song is track 9. It's called Chemo Song, and it's a song that I had written when I was last in chemotherapy, and it's a song that has always been a personal thing. I have not shared my music that I had written in the hospital with anybody, and you know, for some time I realized. For my debut album, I felt the need to be able to share, you know, at least one song, and really kind of be vulnerable, you know, because I think as an artist, that's one of the greatest things you can do. It's one of the scariest things you can do, but you know, there was a whole story behind it, but I'm very, very happy that I put it on. You know, I know that many individuals, whether they're going through illness or even other things, suffering, they've, you know, sent me messages and explained how it's been encouraging to them. And so that, to me, you know, it's always great when you can take something like that a time of suffering and be able to create something that can hopefully give others an opportunity to be encouraged, to be able to keep their heads up and move forward for another day, and be at peace and be content with whatever the circumstance may be and however it may end up.
So which is the first song so you reach out with your audience?
With my audience, I think as I started to sing and perform some of these songs live, it's very stripped down. My live music is very just raw and, not very polished. It's very, blues, very just, kind of, the way I like to explain it is to kind of evoke emotions, but also to express emotions in the best way possible. And so I think one of the first songs that I had ever shared with individuals was a song called "Walk Me Down," and that song was just kind of like this soul-wrenching song that entails relationships, entails, it could be romantic, it could be platonic, it could be, your friends, your family, the environment of individuals around you in your life. It could be about your relationship with God if you believe, from a spiritual level. For me, it was all three of those, and the foundation of the song was about homesickness. And, and I'm not going to go too deep into it, but, I think one of the best things is that when individuals hear this song, it evokes a lot of different things for each person that's listening, and I think that's one of the most beautiful things about music. And so that's one song that comes to mind.
That sounds so cool for us. You said you are written the songs also.
Yeah.
Do you need a certain, the environment have patterns, like a quiet place, you come up with something so creative?
Yeah, that's a good question. My songwriting process, a lot of individuals always ask that question. They're like, whether it's the question of do you write your lyrics first or do you write the melody? I have been writing all my life, and I've never, even now I feel like I'm constantly writing to improve, and and I feel like I've written hundreds and hundreds of songs, and even now I'm kind of feeling like I'm barely at 10% of where I think I want to be, maybe probably far less, because I think it's this process of just honing how to express what you want to say and putting it into words that aren't so cliche, that can be expressed in a way that individuals can read it or hear it and be have emotions evoked in different ways. My process is very kind of it's very diverse. On one hand, sometimes it's just writing constantly into my songbook that I carry around with me. Other times it's writing just random thoughts, random quotes.
So great. So I guess you're going to have a lot of fans. So hopefully they can follow your social platform on Facebook, on your album. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Really great.
Really appreciate it. This is an original called "Don't Fall Too Late."
Warmth is the light of all that I crave inside. There's coldness in the dark of night as I search for the slightest sign. Well, I don't believe in a heart that has never grieved. And every time I fall, I'm reminded of my reprieve. Like sands through the hourglass, we're just passing through so fast. Oh, don't fall too late. Lay down, no pause. Let our ourselves fall. Yeah, don't fall too late. Lay down no walls, let ourselves fall. If ever you get lost, I'd leave 99 to find you. But tell me at what cost should we fight our way through? Like sands through the hourglass, we're just passing through so fast. Oh, don't fall too late. Lay down no walls, let ourselves fall. Don't fall too late. Lay down no walls, let ourselves fall. Don't fall too late. Lay down no walls, let ourselves fall. Don't fall too late. Lay down no walls, let ourselves fall.